Watford 2-0 Manchester United. David De Gea makes howler as goals from Ismaila Sarr and Troy Deeney see bottom side Watford inflict misery on Manchester United.
It is all very well turning up for the big games. But it is not much use if this is what is repeatedly served up against the so-called lesser lights.
One of Manchester United's biggest deficiencies was laid bare again on another humiliating afternoon for Ole Gunnar Solskajer and the fading giants he is now in charge of.
They arrived late at Vicarage Road after suffering more traffic trouble and then didn't even show up for the start of the second half, conceding twice in a calamitous 4-minute spell, en route to yet another setback against one of the Premier League's bottom sides.
Watford were the very lowest, propping up the Premier League table. You would never known, though.
On Nigel Pearson's home debut, they produced the display full of running, passion, determination and quality, as United were able to against Tottenham and Manchester City recently, to secure a first home win of the season.
It was one that had Vicarage Road jumping. This was the day, you felt, where Watford's bid for and against the odds survival begins.
They were certainly given a helping hand by United. David De Gea gifted Ismaila Sarr the opener with one of the howlers of the season before Troy Deeney's penalty clinched victory.
Not even the returning Paul Pogba could salvage something for United on his first appearance in 3 months despite his best efforts to inspire a comeback.
If it is United being successful that will keep him at Old Trafford, as his agent Mino Raiola claimed this week, performances like this underline why that looks some way off and add to the sense he will not be sticking around for too much longer.
United's problems these days are not limited to winning games many expect them to.
Their issues when it comes to turning up for games also resurfaced again.
United have something of a track record for arriving late and were fined by UEFA for doing so ahead of a Champions League game last season.
This time they only got to Vicarage Road just an hour before kick-off, with United caught out by the traffic in and around London once more.
They at least managed to get the team sheet in on time, and Pogba's presence on the bench almost 3 months since his last appearance, due to an ankle injury and illness, was a welcome boost.
His invention and ability is what they have been crying out for at times this season when teams do not play into their counter-attacking hands by opening up themselves.
United's starting side was unchanged from their previous league game, as was Watford's for Nigel Pearson's first home game in charge.
With a new manager to impress and points desperately needed, no club had avoided the Premier League drop with as few as Watford have after 17 games. The bottom of the table hosts were not sitting back, playing encouragingly with the sort of intensity and desire they will need to get out of trouble.
That suited United just fine, though, and they should have led following their first slick counter.
Anthony Martial flicked Scott McTominay's pass onto Daniel James, sending the Welsh winger racing away down the right.
He looked up and picked out Martial, who had continued his run into the box, but the Frenchman dragged his shot wide.
Clear chances were hard to come by for Watford, but they were given encouragement by the visitors' occasional carelessness in possession in their own territory.
Abdoulaye Doucouré then did put the ball in the net, but this time the officials did help out David De Gea, unlike against Everton 7 days ago, when Craig Cathcart was penalised for a foul on the United goalkeeper just before he spilled a corner.
The best chance of the half fell to Jesse Lingard, who tried a cheeky chip when put through on goal by Martial.
His effort landed on top Ben Foster's net rather than dropping under the bar.
At least his confidence has not been dented despite his last league goal being exactly a year ago today.
Watford, though, finished the half the stronger side, and a firmer touch from Doucouré on Kiko Femini's cross would have seen him edge ahead.
Then, having arrived late for the game, United failed to show up at all for the start of the second half, and a shocking start left them staring at another humiliating setback.
The goal that sparked it was barely believable. The error from De Gea was that bad.
Christian Kabasele flicked on Will Hughes' free kick to Ismaila Sarr, whose shot looked like a routine one to save.
Somehow De Gea let it through his hands, the ball hit him on the head and dropped into the net off the post.
He needed no telling it was a shocker as he buried his face in the ground and beat the turf.
The goal rocked United, and just a couple of minutes later things got even worse.
Uncharacteristically, Aaron Wan-Bissaka dived into a tackle in the box and got it wrong, upending Sarr in the process.
After the quickest VAR check this season, referee Lee Mason's decision to award a penalty was backed up, and Troy Deeney did the honours from 12 yards.
United were left shell-shocked by Watford's blitz and suddenly looked vulnerable every time the fired-up home side, who sensed they could do a lot more damage, poured forward.
Solskjaer, meanwhile, turned first to Mason Greenwood and then Pogba, to try and salvage something.
The Frenchman certainly tried and gave United some much-needed injection of urgency and quality.
But former United keeper Ben Foster was equal to everything his old club threw at him in a rally that was far too little and far too late.